be free. Break the chain.
Hey, Pros and Gloves here, and today we're going to be taking a look at making some analog pad strings in Harmor. So I guess they're technically digital pad strings, but they got that vibe going on. They sound like this. You know, something like that. So I made a little lead to jam out on top because I love those kinds of leads. So let's talk about this string sound. It's a very simple sort of sound. I tried physical modeling at first, and that was a disaster. I'm not even going to try it again. That was just a bad idea. So, yeah, it's better to just rock a synth for what a synth is and use samplers for strings. Some people have accomplished actually, like Seamless R has a really good string video on orchestral strings, but it's a different context. I was trying to make strings that sounded like strings, like pad strings that like sounded like real strings. And that was just crazy. If you're gonna do string stabs and stuff, that's a little bit different of a story, and he's got an excellent video on that. So these strings obviously are that good old synthetic kind, and the way they work are there are two sides. There's an A side and a B side. The B side is a pulse wave, and the A side, that's the A side. The A side's a pulse wave. The B side is a string patch. And that's what they sound like all on their lonesome. And so the way it works is you turn on, first you start on side B, and I started with a square wave, and then you filter it down because it's going to sound way too bright and you don't want all those upper harmonics hanging around. After you turn it down, I believe I turned on some chorus at this stage and some reverb because I was like, gotta have chorus and reverb, right? And these are global effects in Harmor, so they are going to affect side B. So whatever changes I'm going to make here will be affected to whatever I'm going to do on side B. The other thing that sort of makes a string sound is they have like just this hint of vibrato. There's always like this sort of movement going around. It's what gives it that retro vibe. Let's go ahead and just make one. So, okay, here we are. We have that awesome sound. And so we're going to go to our pulse wave. Okay, and hey, let's see if it is hooked up. All right, so we can set our vibrato right now. We'll do that separately with the mouse. So, okay, I've got this going down. I want to now, tame the beast a little bit. And we'll even look at our spectrogram or our spectral display. So we can turn this down. I'll say, okay, that's fine. Setting the filters can sometimes, you could sit here forever and just make tiny filter changes and get all sorts of different timbres once we add the second layer. So we've got this now. So let's go ahead, add our chorus. I want to bring the depth up and the speed down. Leave the delay where it's at. I believe this is delay. Yeah, delay. Cool. So now that we have this, we'll add our reverb. I'm going to go to the W plus, which stands for, I think it's like warm plus or something. For the longest time, I thought it was like some sort of a room sound thing. I'm going to bring the decay up. And then, oh yeah, see, making these helps me remember the process. So, okay, this obviously doesn't sound like a string sound yet. So we need to turn on the volume envelope. And this is important. You don't want to go to max. There's no way to like mix levels between A and B like directly besides this fader knob, and it basically says if you pull it this way, it'll give you more of A. If you pull it this way, it'll give you more of B. But the problem is I just wanted to be able to mix them like independent. And so the way you can do that though is if you turn on the volume envelope and then just change the volume levels in each one. So by moving this point, I can control the level. And also, yeah, so that's what's going on. Maybe make it a little bit faster. So we play a chord. Wow, that's a beautiful chord, isn't it? I know. So now I avoided unison because you get phasey stuff with unison, and I just wasn't vibing it. It does sound pretty cool at this stage, but later on I took it off. You can accomplish similar things with the chorus, which applies to both, so they match. So I brought my speed up a little bit, decided that was a good idea. And let's go ahead and bring our vibrato in just a little bit. And you can see that movement in our sound. It'll make a bigger difference when we add in the saw wave. So at this point, we're pretty much there. We could mess with this just a hair more. Now let's go ahead and add in our side B. The side B will be a saw wave because we've already talked about this. If we play it, it'll be horribly loud. So we are going to now begin to shave off the top. Actually, first, let's go to the volume envelope first and set our levels somewhat. So you see we're already almost there. It's like kind of scary. Okay, that's because the effects have already been applied, so they already meld a little bit. Now we're gonna, obviously the high end's outrageous, so we're gonna bring the high end down. And the chords I was playing there were, I was moving in F sharp minor, which is basically, well, the relative major is A major. So you can think of it as three sharps, F sharp minor. So I was going to F sharp minor, and then to E major, C sharp minor, and then D major. Yeah, so if you recognize that chord progression from somewhere. So we are going to, what we're going to do now is we're going to mess with the chorus, the speed, and the mixing a little bit just to make sure, just to get the sound we want. So this is the part where I start going back and forth and making things the way I want. I actually turned this one just a smidgen square. It's like one of those things you can almost hear. I don't know, moves like this, sometimes they're weird, sometimes they just help you get the vibe, I guess. But there's not a tremendous difference here. Like that move is like one of those, I'm not sure that counts moves. And so here our volume's going to change. So our final timbre, if you hold the note, is going to be established here. So you're going to want to pay attention to, do you want the strings to come up and overpower? What was the square wave? How do you want this to like work out? And we don't have any vibrato on this, so we'll do that. I don't do sub because you just play a low note. A low note because if you try playing chords with the sub on, it doesn't work out. But if you play chords without the sub on, in this case, it'll work out better. So we pretty much have our sound. At this point, yeah, it's just the mixing. Just mixing these things together. I turned on, if you noticed on the last patch, I had my harmonizer on. You hear that high end? That's coming from the harmonizer. And you can mess with the series, so maybe messing with a times of an even number. That can be a cool thing. On the shift, times of an even number will usually be a safe move. If you do with an odd number, it tends to usually go pretty square wavy. You can hear, let's do an even number, see how much of a difference there is. Yeah, so you get the filled in middle stuff. So that's the way I pretty much look at that most of the time. Okay, so now, well, we could even just steal our progression. If you want to see, I played it in. So it's got a little bit of offset and stuff, but you see it's like not quite on, which is great. It's less weird, right? So paste it in. There's actually no post processing, so that's great. Let's compare them. Oh, I went crazier with stuff over here. What did I do on this one? Oh, I turned on distortion. Missed that. In my filter, I left the filter wide open on the saw wave. Cool, let's do that. So it changes every time you do it, right? So now there's a distortion. I forgot I did this. The distortion is an interesting move because usually people view distortion as this crazy big thing, like they picture like crazy guitars or dubstep or something. Distortion actually can be really subtle and add a lot of warmth, and so classic is one of those distortions included in Harmor that will do that for you. Another worthy note is you can try messing with the different filters because the way the filters do their cutoff will change resonance, where the cutoff takes place, and a couple other things. But because of that, you'll get a slightly different sound. Sometimes they're not a big deal in difference of sound. Sometimes they're an enormous deal. And the EQ is a really special filter. So messing with this EQ causes you can get some pretty wacky resonance out of this thing. So let's go ahead and show you what the classic sounds like. And I think I went a little more dramatic on the chorus. At least that's what it sounded like to me. So let's go to the effects and. Okay, so I'm gonna settle with that. That's gonna be my sound, right? And then you gotta test it in a song, right? So we gotta write a little pad thing, and then we have this is the lead. The lead's really easy. It's just a square wave with a cube on it, and it's got legato on, and I'm controlling the vibrato with my mod wheel, which is set up by default in Harmor to do that for now. Sometimes I link it to the filter, and then I forget I did that, and it bites me in the butt. But here it is. My vibrato's not working. There we go. So yeah, you get it though. We have our awesome sound. It's a little bright, so let's go ahead. I'll include a link in the description to this file should you desire to have these patches and mess with them to your heart's content. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And that's that. Subscribe, support me on Patreon. If you found this a useful video, share it with your friends so they can all have dope analog sounding strings. And you can see you can do this in pretty much anything. Actually, Harmor was a bit difficult because I didn't, like, for example, I wanted to add a noise layer and I couldn't do that. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll grab Citrus. Citrus seems like it might be a better fit for a sound like this. Subscribe and have a blessed day.